Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Where the Gnomes Live. This is Sharon Oyella, and today I'm going to show you how I built my stairs. I put a staircase there on that tree and a staircase over here on this tree. I'll be showing you how to build the steps, how to shape them and attach them to the tree. I'm also going to show you how to do the fake bark casing all around the steps. This video tutorial is only going to show you how to add stairs to an existing project. So whatever fairy house that you're working on, you could be working on a box actually, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to show you how to add stairs to that. If you're interested in seeing how I build my trees, I do have videos here on YouTube that will walk you through all the steps of building a tree as well. And before we get into the supplies list, a quick plug for my Facebook page, because I've recently changed Facebook pages. For those of you who've been following me for a while, I started my Facebook page in 2011 called Dollhouses and the Things That Go in Them. And then January this year I decided that that name doesn't suit what I'm doing, because I don't really build dollhouses. I'm always building gnome homes and mole homes, things like building things for snails. So I figured that a Facebook page with the same name as my YouTube channel would be better. But Facebook wouldn't let me do that, so I had to make a whole new page. So I lost about 11,000 followers on my first Facebook page, and I'm trying to get everybody to come over. It's a work in progress. So if you're on Facebook, you can come on over and like my new Facebook page called Where the Gnomes Live. Alright guys, let's go over that supplies list and then we'll start building those stairs. To make the stairs and the casing around the stairs, like this fake bark, I use aluminum foil, masking tape, paper towel, white glue, any white glue will do, and hot glue. So on the table here is extra wide heavy duty aluminum foil. You do not need to buy the same one. You can buy cheap foil. Any old cheap foil is going to do, as long as it doesn't say non-stick, because you need masking tape to stick to it, of course. The only reason why I have this stuff here is because it was on sale and I couldn't resist the price of it, so I bought that, but I normally use just cheap foil. Of course, you can paint your stairs any color that you want to. What I used was just regular craft paint, acrylic craft paint, black, burnt umber, cinnamon brown, and beige. Alright guys, and the amount of supplies that you need is fully determined by the size of your project. So for this staircase here, for the stairs themselves, I think I used about a 3-foot strip of foil. And then for the bark around it, maybe another 6 or 8 feet of foil. I'm not too sure, but it definitely wasn't that much. And the amount of glue that I used was probably a quarter of this jug. So there's 950 mils, so a quarter of that jug. I didn't totally measure it out, but I'm sure I didn't use that much. And masking tape, of course, just get a roll of that. I didn't use a whole roll, of course, but you do need a roll of masking tape. The hot glue, I think I used 1 full stick to get my stairs glued into place. And I didn't even use a full roll of paper towel. So again, the amount of supplies that you need is going to be fully determined by the size of your project. So this was built in a couple of different steps, excuse the pun. So I put the steps in first, and then I built this part up around it. So we're going to do that together right now over here on this one. And so I have just pushed through from the inside where my floor is, and I'm not sure exactly where I want the door, so I'm just going to leave this like that. I'm going to start right here and put the stairs down this way. So I have a strip here. Oh, how long is that? Maybe 3 feet? It doesn't really matter because you can always add on to it. And then I have folded it over twice. I have extra wide foil as well, so if you have light duty foil, then you'd have to do it a couple more times than I did. And it doesn't have to be super thick, it really doesn't, but you just want something that you can easily work with. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a little piece right here. I'm going to hot glue this here, and that's nothing except for just to hold the top of my stairs in place while I get them attached, so that's all I need that there for. And I don't want the stairs to go straight to the wall or flat against the wall. I want them to kind of wind around something. So I'm going to add an extra piece like I did here. So this was put on after, so it's just scrunched up foil that I glued against the wall, and then the stairs are going to go around it. Alright, I just decided to put another one up here beside. You'll notice that they're not going to the very bottom, and that's because the staircase is going to be built up around that, so we're not even going to see this part here. Anyway, I am going to be squishing up that foil into stairs like this, and they're not going to be anything fancy or anything straight. I'm not going for perfection at all. Wonkier the better, I think. There's a bit of a charm to things that aren't perfect, especially working on a tree. I don't want perfection. So I'm just going to be squishing up the foil best I can into the shapes of steps. And then the top's going to be glued here. And I'm just going to do the squishing until I have steps that come all the way down and around. So this is my landing part. That's how wide my landing is going to be at the top of the stairs. So right from here, I'm going to start making the stairs. So here's my landing right here. And the step is going to be more narrow on the side that touches the wall, and it's going to widen out on the opposite side. I'm going to hot glue this part into place, and then I can always straighten things out after it's glued in. Okay, and the second stair. So it's hard to show you exactly what's happening here, but it's really simple. I'm just hot gluing the sides of the steps going down. And so now I'm going to work on the bottom part. You can see I haven't done the steps here yet, but I just needed this part to be out of my way. And if it gets too short, then I'll just add another piece of foil. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and we'll come back and see what we got. There, I got to the bottom. And I can straighten these out better when I get on to the next step. But I'm going to be adding some masking tape now. Let's see how it winds around my added pieces there. And not that difficult at all, it's just shaping. When I got down to the bottom, I pushed in from behind, made it a lot easier. Pushed in to make these little steps here. I'm not sure if that's still a good angle for you guys or not, but all I'm going to do is just add masking tape to the entire surface. Okay, so I'm not going to leave the camera on for this whole process because that's just going to take way too long. So I'm going to do the same thing I just did here, all the way over the entire surface. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but we have trucks outside now working on the roadway. Anyway, I'm going to cut a little piece here just to narrow this out a little bit with my scissors. So I think it's a little bit too wide. It's going to take up too much space. Alright, I'm going to add more tape now to cover up the parts that I exposed. And we're almost ready to move on to the next step. I just moved my tree out so I can get to the back area here. I got some foil already ready and shaped. I'm just waiting for my glue gun to heat up. I'm going to put this here. And this will be my first piece on the top. And then I'm going to add more around here. So in the end, we'll have something that looks like this. So this is exactly how I cased in this staircase here. And you can really play around with the design. You don't have to do tall here. You can just bring it right in close to the top of the step. It doesn't matter. However you want to design your stairs is totally up to you. The great thing about foil is you can add to it and take away at any time. And you're not stuck with any design really, just like this. Remember, I just took scissors to them and cut them to a better width. So I encased all the steps and it's done in sections, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I just added another piece on top just to add a little bit more depth there. And if I wanted to change a piece here, all I have to do is add another piece on top to make that taller if I wanted to. So I'll just hot glue that in place and then I'll tape it in. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just adding depth anywhere I want depth to go, roots, more interest on top, and I'll just be hot gluing extra pieces into place until I'm happy with what I see, and then I'll cover it with that tape. So when I glued on the foil, a bead of hot glue went across the top of the stairs all the way to the bottom. So these are pretty solid. Alright, we're getting there. Now remember I said I have all this space underneath. I can't leave that without working it into something. So I think I'm going to put a hole here and at least get something started there for an entrance. And I'll work more on that at a later time. I just want to figure out the steps first and then we'll work down here. But how's that for a great big fun entrance to the bottom floor? So now I'm going to get out my paper towel and my glue. That's going to be the next step. So let's do that. Alright, I'm going to start laying down the bark, and I had just put down a piece of parchment paper here because I don't want to glue this piece down to my table because I do want this tree to stay removable so I can just pick it up whenever I need to. So what do I have here? I have just regular white glue. This is Elmer's Glue All multi-purpose glue. Any white glue will work. And water. And what I do with the water is just mix it in with the glue just to make the glue easier to work with. I have Scott towels, and I have torn all the ends so they're not straight. I don't bother with the sides, but just the ends, top and bottom. Dump in the glue. And I won't be using all of this, but I am going to mix it up because I'm going to be using it on other projects anyway today. After I'm finished with this staircase for you guys, I'm going to be working on the other side of this tree, so I'll just dump it all in there. It's almost all. There's about a quarter left in here, and there's 950 mils. Now that's very thick. That's very thick glue, and it's way too thick to be working with. So I just mixed in a little bit of water. I had about 2 cups in there to start with. There's about a half a cup of water. And the water just makes it easier to work with because I squeeze off the excess glue when I dip my paper towel in there. Okay, that should do it. I started with 2 cups and I have 3/4 of a cup left of water. So I could stick more water in if I wanted to, but I think that consistency will work. That is so funny. I thought the film was recording and it wasn't. I was talking away to you. Okay, so I just take a piece of Scott towel. I'm just going to run it along the surface. And then I fold the dry sides together. And then I just pull off the excess. I've shown this method many times on here on YouTube. So I've opened it up now. And on the other side, if there's no glue there, I'm just going to rub the glue on. Usually the glue goes through both sides at the same time. And for the stairs, I'm not doing any real texture. I'm just going to lay this down because I do want to paint the stairs. So the paper towel is going to give me a paintable surface. So I'm just going to lay it down. Now it's sticking to my fingers, so I'm going to dip my finger in glue so it doesn't do that. And use my finger to smooth it along. Dipped in water would work too. I could try that. Might be a little bit easier. Yeah, let's do that. I'll dip it in some water, my finger. Yeah, that worked better. So all I'm doing is just making a surface for painting here on my stairs. And I don't want like big wrinkles or anything like that, so I'm trying to smooth out those huge wrinkles. You can see I wasn't so perfect. I did take out any major wrinkles. The little ones I don't mind. Now once this is dry, I can paint that, or I could add egg cartons or paper cup trays like stonework, like these things here. I've shown this many times on my YouTube channel as well. These little things down here are paper cup trays, and you could actually cover this. This is how I did my first bed and breakfast stairs. I would do this step here. Once this was dry, I put in paper cup trays, and it looked like stone steps, so that was pretty cool. But I'm not going to do that with this one. I'm going to make it look natural like this. So I'm just going to end up painting it when it's all dry. So you can see once it's dry, you can see some of those wrinkles. I'm going to use my black to shadow out some of the wrinkles and make them look like something you'd find in nature. Alright, it doesn't really matter where I start, but again I'm going to dip my paper towel, and this time I'm going to be making texture. Same way I've been showing for the last number of years. I'm just going to pay a little bit more attention to the texture. I'm not going to go as quickly as I used to go. I find if I take more time, it looks better in the end. Sometimes I'm in a rush and I think I go a little bit too fast. Okay, I'm just going to lay it down anywhere I want to start. There we go. This one's really short, so I'm going to put it over here on a shorter piece. It doesn't matter where you stop and start. And if you have a spot that's really hard to work with, you can always use moss or mushroom or something later to cover it up, so don't worry too much about getting things to look too perfect, because once you get it all dry and painted, then you'll be adding things to it as well. So all the lines that you see when they're dry, that's what it's going to look like. So you want to make sure that the lines are straight up and down, or if you want the bark to be going in one direction, you can also do it that way. I've done that as well, and it turns out pretty cool. So when I'm doing an add-on piece like this, because this piece here was previously done, I want to make sure I overlap a bit. So once it's dry, they become like a solid unit. So when I get to a piece like this, I'm going to overlap it about an inch or so, maybe even more. Just work in the bottom. To avoid seeing lines going across where you've connected them, what I do is, on my third piece here, I'm going to start in the middle of those two. So instead of starting at the bottom, I'll put it right here. So that way this end and this end are in a different part than this one here. And I don't like the looks of that joining piece, so I'm just going to go right over top of it. This first one I did here, I don't like the looks of that, so I'm just going to put another piece right over top. There we go. Better. Finally, we got it all ready for drying, so I'm just going to put the fan on it, a couple of fans. And it'll take a couple hours. Once it's dry, then we'll get to painting. So about 2.5 hours have gone by, and I had 2 fans sitting on this, and this part is all dry. Anything that's white, like this here, is still wet glue. I can paint this, however, and it'll be fine. It'll dry over time underneath. There's no issues with mold or anything. I can paint right over top of this. Anyway, before we continue on with the painting, I wanted to show you these. I was editing my video and I realized I didn't really talk too much about this edging here. When I get to the top of this edging, I usually just pinch a little bit at the top. I'll show you the other piece over here. So when it's dry, you have a little bit of a lip right on top. When you're working on it yourself, you'll have a good idea what to do and the kind of look that you're going for. So all my trees get a black wash first before I add the color. It just saves a lot of time. I can get all the crevices this way, and yeah, it just saves a lot of time. You can do any type of color that you want on your own tree. You don't have to do the same thing I'm doing. So what I do is I take a black craft acrylic paint. I mix equal amounts of water with this. So if I was to use the whole bottle of paint, then I would use a whole bottle of water. And I just mix it in in a bowl, mix it all up, and then I have a big brush and a little brush. The little brush is going to help me get into the crevices that the big brush misses. And my stairs get painted black as well. Alright, we're in the next day. I let this just dry overnight because it was late last night when I put this coat on. Now that that's dry, I'm going to put on a coat of burnt umber. So I'm not filling in all the crevices and all that stuff. I'm just going over the surface with the burnt umber. And again, I'm going to do the stairs too. And you can see where I added it to the original piece. I'm just going to blend that in as well. And doing these colors the way I do them allows me to add on to this tree at any time, and you'll never notice where I've added on. So I'm going to let this dry. I leave it for about 20 minutes, and then I will put the next coat on. Alright, as soon as that's dry to touch, you can put the next coat on. I'm going to put a cinnamon brown on top of this, and I don't clean my brush in between. I'm just going to brush off the excess burnt umber, and then just dip it in here. And then lightly go over. Again, I'm not going in all the crevices, I'm just going to go over the surface. I'm not putting gobs of paint on either. Once I dip my brush, I just get a little bit off on my thing there, and then just go over lightly. I'm just lightly going over the stairs just to highlight some of that color. Alright, once that's dry to the touch, you can put the next coat on. And I am doing just a very light dry brushing of beige. You can do any beige color. This is just a light dry brushing. So I just dip my brush in there just very lightly and then get the excess off. And now I'm just going to go very lightly over, just highlighting all the lines in this bark. Alright, we're dry enough to work on, so I'm going to be taking some black now, and this is that same craft acrylic black paint, and a smaller brush. And I'm going to be shadowing out deep crevices like this, all in here, and it just gives it a really cool effect. So let's back up and let you see what it looks like here without the shadowing. Anything like these really deep crevices, I put a lot of black in there. Really makes the depth happen. So when you stand back, it looks like these holes are even bigger than they actually are. So I'm going to let this sit for about an hour, and then I'll probably do another highlighting coat just over some areas where I might have added a little bit too much black. But it's always a good idea to let it sit, let the colors set for a bit, and then move on to the next step. But you can see it's going to look really cool once I get the moss on there, and it kind of tones down all that bark. But we're getting there. And all of this here is undone still. I put this together really quickly just so I could have some color there, but there's going to be some other things added here. So, but this part is pretty much done, and the stairs are done. So we just have to add the moss there. I'm using a tacky glue. Any white glue will work, clear drying glue. And I got my moss at the dollar store. And I'm just going to be adding a generous amount of glue into all the crevices here and then shoving the moss in there with my fingers. I have lots more fun ideas for the ground here, but we'll go over that some other time. I think we'll call it a day, and I hope you found this video helpful and you get yourself a set of stairs made. All you need is some foil, some tape, and some paper towels, and you'll be on your way. If you do make a set of stairs, I would sure love to see them. You could post pictures on my Facebook page, Where the Gnomes Live. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you super soon.